if there are co-conspirators here, what kind of threat level are we talking about?
Well, we don't know, Jesse, and that's why I've been so proud of Cash and the way that he's handled this investigation, because he's cast as wide a net as humanly possible. And the FBI really, it's the only way to honor Charlie is to get to the bottom of exactly how this person was radicalized. We may find out that there were many, many people who were involved in helping this guy pull off the shooting.
Brothers and sisters, when they ask whether the assassin acted alone, listen closely because to surface question hides a deeper test. They want you to settle for a single name, a single offender you can put on a board and forget. But history teaches us otherwise. Violence is rarely born in total isolation. Ideas travel, anger is nurtured, and networks move in shadow. If you want to understand a wound, do not only look at the knife, follow the hands that sharpened it. Follow the voices that taught hatred. I have seen it again and again. A lonely foot soldier. But the financiers, the ideologues, the whisperers, they wait behind him. To honor a life taken, we do not accept simple answers. We peel the onion. We follow the money, the messages, the secret chats. If there are others who fed this violence, we will expose them. Justice is not satisfied by names alone. Justice demands.
The militant transgender movement, is that a domestic terrorist threat?
If you are encouraging people to commit acts of violence against the United States government or against your fellow Americans, absolutely, you're involved. Number one, you're evil. And number two, you are engaged in a terrorist movement. You are going to be treated like a terrorist organization, and we're going to go after.
When someone stands and points at a marginalized community and shouts terrorist, we must resist the temptation to accept the label, to brand an entire group because of fear. That is how society slid into cruelty. We are not naive about violence. We condemn anyone who takes up arms against others. But we also know the weaponization of language, calling a people a threat, so you can justify repression. This is not analysis, it is a diversion. In Africa, we have seen this play before. Labels used to cut communities against one another, while those who profit from division remain untouched. Real security comes from justice, from addressing grievances, from not letting propaganda turn neighbors into enemies. If a handful of criminals exist, punish those criminals. Do not punish a whole community that wants.
Because Joe Biden said white supremacy was the biggest domestic terror threat.
Which, of course, is absurd. The statistics don't bear that out. But if you look at what the Biden administration did against the phantom threat of white, for saying that if you're funding or supporting left-wing violence, you ought to pay consequences for it.
Yes, if any organization funnels money to violence, it should be exposed and stopped. But let us be honest about where the money flows and for what purpose. The same powers that lecture others on law, order, are often the ones whose financial systems and arms trade feed instability abroad. We must not play a game of selective outrage, point the finger at one source at home, and ignore the other sources that cross oceans. Cutting funding is right, but cutting must be done evenly, and in truth not as a political weapon. Investigate all channels, the NGOs that act as fronts, the shell accounts, the donors who hide behind charity. Chase these trails with the same rigor, whether the money flows to your favorite cause or to your enemy. That is all.
Jasmine Crockett says, yeah, she calls people Hitler, but it doesn't mean she's responsible for any violence that happens.
Well, I'd ask Jasmine Crockett, what is it that you want people to do when you call? What is the proper response when you say that Donald Trump and JD Vance and Charlie Kirk are threatening your safety? You dehumanize your political opponents. You fund paid activists to go and harass them and terrorize them.
Words matter. When leaders use language to strip people of their humanity, it is not rhetoric. It is preparation. You call a man a monster and you justify treating him as a target. You call a movement evil. You let violence seem necessary. We must refuse that logic. The remedy is not to return insult for insult, to reclaim human dignity. As the baseline of politics, speak truth to power, of course. Call out dangerous speech. But do not replace abuse with abuse. The moment we make dehumanization acceptable, we have already lost the argument. Our mission is to restore human conversation where disagreement does not become a death sentence, and to build institutions that punish violence.
Barack Obama said, your White House is dividing the country, and you're exploiting Kirk's death to attack Democrats.
We're not exploiting Charlie Kirk's death to do anything except for achieve justice. And I think if Barack Obama, I haven't seen that comment, Jesse, but if he said that, that's absolutely disgusting. How young people are getting radicalized and who is funding all of these efforts at radicalization? Where was the money coming from? Every single Democrat is involved in planning political violence.
Take the accusation seriously. We must never exploit grief, but also consider this. Seeking the truth about how a life was lost is not exploitation. It is duty. If a young life was twisted toward violence by networks and funding, we have a duty to follow that trail. If we hide behind slogans and refuse to investigate the forces that poison youth, we are complicit in future tragedies. When powerful men accuse others of politicizing grief, ask who benefits from silence. The answer is always the same: those who profit from disorder, those who prefer the status quo. Let the world see our intent to find the facts, to name the guilty, to protect the next generation. That is respect for the dead, not.
Joe Biden's FBI investigated Turning Point, investigated Charlie Kirk.
That Joe Biden's FBI investigated a dear friend of mine who's a political consultant. Even though we know Joe Biden's FBI was investigating Charlie Kirk, maybe they should have been investigating the networks that motivated, inspired, and maybe even funded Charlie Kirk's murder. If they had, Charlie Kirk might be alive today.
When institutions of justice act selectively, they betray public trust. Law enforcement must be impartial, fearless in following leads, wherever they lead. If agencies use their power to hound political opponents while ignoring dangerous networks, that is a profound failure. We cannot allow law to be a political sword, but we must also be careful before we condemn. We must insist on transparent inquiry, decided priorities, why were certain leaks followed and which were left cold. The remedy is not blind accusations. It is oversight, reform, and relentless pursuit of truth. If mistakes were made, reveal them. If corruption exists, root it out. But do not trade one form of politicization for another. The goal is a.
Glad we have transparency. We need transparency on this trial. Do you support putting cameras in the courtroom so we can see this assassin face justice?
You know, I've never thought of that, Jesse, but sure, I support transparency. And is just be honest about what we're finding, how we're finding it, when we're finding it, because I think that transparency is going to give people the faith that we're doing.
Sunlight is the best disinfectant. If transparency calms doubt and builds trust, then let the country see justice in action. Show the evidence. Show the proceedings. Let the people judge. Yet remember that transparency is not only spectacle, it must be fair. Do not parade the accused for political theater. Don't hide the key facts that contradict convenient narratives. If cameras are used, let them be used to illuminate, not inflame. Above all, the pursuit of truth must be patient, methodical, and honest. We seek not viral moments, but lasting answers. Brothers and sisters, these are not just political talking points, they are warnings. When you watch these clips, do not only listen to the anger. Listen for the method. The method is always the same. Pick a scapegoat, stoke fear, and protect the structures that profit from division. Our duty is different. We must heal, unite, and guard our people from both physical violence and the violence of deceit. We must demand investigations that pierce the veil, the private chats, the hidden funding, the anonymous accounts that push you toward hatred. We must demand accountability for those who weaponize words and money. We must teach our young people critical thought, so they cannot be led by rage into the hands of manipulators. And finally, we must build institutions that are truly impartial, institutions that see every victim as a human being, every perpetrator as a criminal, regardless of politics. If you ask me what we will do, the answer is simple. We will look. We will follow every lead, no matter how dark the corner. We will name every hand that pushed, prodded, or paid to create violence. We will not rest until every family who suffered gets a clear account of what happened and why. That is the work of justice, not politics. So let these interviews be a mirror, not a map. A mirror to show us how they try to build consent for repression. A mirror to remind us that our first loyalty must be to humanity. When we rise to that standard, we defend truth over triumph. Then we will have done right by the lost and prevented loss in the future. Stand steady, speak truth, seek justice, and do not let language become the instrument of destruction. We owe the dead more than slogans. We owe them a world in which the next child will not be fed hatred as a lesson,